Spider One TV set about politics, football, entertainment, trending news, and also anime so Ghana and it is definitely the only channel I was watching is Spider One TV. You wouldn't apart anymore.
To other stories, we will not apologize. That is the response of global news giant Al Jazeera to the presidency. Jubilee House had written to Al Jazeera demanding an immediate retraction and apologies for the broadcast of the highly explosive gold mafia documentary that portrayed the president Akuffo Addo as a beneficiary of an international gold smuggling syndicate. The four-part investigation by Al Jazeera's investigative unit reviewed a series of gold smuggling gangs in Africa who helped criminals launder hundreds of millions of dollars, getting rich themselves while plundering their nations. In a part of the documentary, one Alistair Mafia claimed he smuggled up to $40 million worth of gold through Ghana every month, and also claimed to know President Akuffo Addo, who he also claimed acted as his lawyer once. Our Joy News editor and head of our political desk, Evans Mensah, joins me in the studio with more on this. But Evans, welcome. But just before we proceed, let's listen to that part of the documentary that the presidency really had issues with.
Thias is a gold trader. He designs money laundering schemes for African leaders.
Next door, Swaziland, the king is a close friend of mine. The Zambia president is a close friend of my friend. DRC Congo, the president has invited me several times there to come and build a refinery.
So these can help people like us to get the money clean.
Mr. Stanley leads the I-Unit undercover team. Reporters are posing as gangsters who need to launder $100 million in dirty cash from China.
The Ghana president is a good friend of mine. In fact, he was my lawyer. Like Cyril Ramaphosa here, I know him, I know his kids.
Zimbabwe's easy.
Ewan McMillan is a gold smuggler from Zimbabwe. They call him Mr. Gold. They refer to Zimbabwe's president Mnangagwa by his initials, ED.
Zim, ED is my partner. I can't say it in public because he's sanctioned.
I know ED as well.
But they don't
Sat
really
with
know each other.
him 3 months ago, sitting with him, chatting to him.
Mnangagwa's protection proves
Well, so that's the part of the documentary that really the presidency had issues with. Evans, what more are we learning? But just before we get to that, the presidency had written this letter to Al Jazeera demanding some retraction and apology. What were their main issues?
So the main issues was this reference that was made to the president. So Alistair alleges in this piece that the president was his personal lawyer, and so that created a certain relationship with an alleged gold smuggler. So the presidency had written to Al Jazeera demanding two things: one, retract; secondly, apologize. But then also they had made it clear to them. So we also learned from that letter they wrote that the Al Jazeera, before they went public with their documentary, had written to the presidency on the 6th of April. And the presidency had replied on the 11th, telling them that the presidency has no recollection of representing this Matthias individual, and also that the president had not been in private practice since 2000, and so that's a long period. And so they wrote back to them and made a few demands. So one, specified a period when you claim Alistair was a client of the president. And then second, another allegation that was made in this piece by Alistair was that he was a beneficiary of a contract in Ghana in the region of $100 million. Again, they wanted further and better particulars about that particular contract that was claimed in this documentary to have been awarded to Alistair as a result of his, close relationship with the president.
Interesting. There were also some deadlines given to Al Jazeera to try to then respond to this letter, right?
It was immediate. They wanted this done immediately. We know that Al Jazeera, from everything else we've read, didn't comply with that directive. So today, we wrote to Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera was giving a firm, word from the presidency, a demand, in essence, that retract and apologize immediately. right? And with implied threats in there. I mean, what then was suggested was that if Al Jazeera does not take this course of action in retracting and apologizing, then the presidency will exercise all of its options, right? And if, to quote the presidency, it is imperative that you act forthwith in this request within 7 days from the date of receipt of this letter. And so 7 days had elapsed. So we thought we should check with Al Jazeera if they have replied to the presidency, and we checked and they have.
They have responded to the presidency.
They have responded to the presidency.
So they didn't wait for the days to elapse before then the presidency could switch in the next leg.
Yeah, I mean, this is a global media giant, and so you can imagine they had a whole team that were prepared. They knew there could be legal implications from this. What
do we know really? Because if they say they have responded, what about the retraction and apology bit?
They were categorical in the response they gave us that they were not going to retract and they were not going to apologize. And the reason was simple, that they have, in their letter to the presidency, offered clarifications and corrected inaccuracies. So their position is that the president's account of things was inaccurate. And so they've taken the opportunity in responding to the presidency to correct some parts of the content and clarify various points. To quote them directly in the mail that they fired back at us today when we inquired. And then they went ahead to say, quote, since the documentary did not actually allege what the president's office has suggested, it did, we will not be apologizing or removing it from publication, right? And it claims that their reply to the president's office was by way of confidential letter. So we've checked with the presidency. Yes, they have received this particular response from the Al Jazeera, but I'm told by sources at the Jubilee House that their understanding of the Al Jazeera letter to them is not a categorical no, we will apologize and will not retract. As to what it is, it remains to be seen. But Al Jazeera is very clear in their response to us. And this, by the way, it is their investigative wing, and that's the wing that did this particular work that responded to us, the Al Jazeera investigations, and that they were categorical. We're waiting. I'm told the president is in London, and this has come to his attention. So the president is a lawyer, and his team of lawyers are there, so they have to consider the options.
Okay, all right, grateful. Let's bring in a legal practitioner here, Lawyer Samson Ayeni, to help us really appreciate the legal angles to this development. Grateful to you for joining us. Now, Al Jazeera says that they are not going to retract, they are not going to apologize. According to the presidency, with the response that Al Jazeera brought, it doesn't really say that they are not going to apologize for this. What is the next leg, that the presidency could take?
The presidency, as an institution, does not have capacity, so to speak, generally, to take up a suit against anybody. The executive cannot say, Grace, you have defamed the executive or you have defamed government, so we will sue you. The law does not allow that. So it must be an individual within the presidency that will take an action. And as we understand, this will be the president. Now, when you write to seek for a retraction, an apology, or a retraction, or an apology, you are giving the media organization or the individual involved an opportunity to correct or avoid illegal action. So when they say that we are not retracting, we are not apologizing, it means that they have received legal advice, they have looked at what you are complaining about again, and their view is that we have not defamed you as you claim. You say it is malicious, it is not. So we are not retracting, we are not apologizing. Do what you will. When they say that, the next step you can take is to go to court. So now the ball is squarely in the court of the president to determine that he will sue or he will not sue. If he will not sue, sometimes it is not wise to ask for a retraction and apology, because when you don't get it, then you find yourself in trouble.
Interesting. Now, Al Jazeera is not within our jurisdiction. So how does the president then address the issue of jurisdiction in terms of they choosing the option of going on to press a legal charge against Al Jazeera?
Right. The law is that in defamation or in the cyber or internet space, when comments are made about you and you find the comments offending or defamatory, it doesn't matter where the comments were made. What matters is where the comments were heard. So if you sat in Al Jazeera's headquarters in America and you made those comments and the comments were heard in Ghana, the president is entitled to take up a suit here in Ghana. Now, he could take up the suit anywhere in the world, but the most appropriate, from my examination, most appropriate place where he may take the suit will be in Ghana. He could actually go to where Al Jazeera's physical office is and take the suit. But he could take it in Ghana because the law has been established that where your reputation is most affected is where you may want to take the suit. The president is well known in Ghana. His reputation that he alleges has been defamed is better, as it were, asserted in Ghana. But he could assert it anywhere else.
Okay.
But the Ghanaian people are the people that are closest to him. So he can take a suit right here in Ghana.
Okay.
And there is precedent. Right here in Ghana, people have taken suits against persons and entities that don't live in Ghana or broadcast from Ghana.
Okay.
They have won the suit.
Okay. Grateful to you, Lawyer Samson Ayenini, for the education at this night. Now, what about how Ghana can repair its international image, as the presidency has already alleged that this documentary did some damage to the image of the presidency? We're joined on the line by international relations expert with the University of Education, whenever Dr. Ishmael Hlovo. He joins us via Zoom now. Doc, grateful for your time here. Now that the Al Jazeera is responding that they are not going to retract and they are not going to apologize, how does the president and in fact the presidency deal with repairing the image, according to them, has been damaged by that documentary?
Good evening, and good evening to your viewers. It is important that we understand that the documentary and the way we have proceeded about it have done some damage to the image of the state of Ghana. So in trying to repair this image, we must find a way to communicate the position as we think is the right position to the rest of the world and to the Ghanaian public. So to start with, a public statement responding to the specific allegations contained in the documentary against the president is very important. You may also look for another global media giant and try to get your version of the story to the Ghanaian public and the international community. The other option may be to try to engage the states that host Al Jazeera. But that option is quite dicey because of the need to protect press freedom. In doing so, we may seem to be going against the cherished value of press freedom. But that is also an option that is open to us. That is, if we believe that it is a deliberate attempt to tarnish our image as the president is communicating, then we may want to engage the other state to find ways by which they can help us to get Al Jazeera to retract and apologize as it were. But that is conditioned on the premise that we are sure that the content of the documentary is a misrepresentation of the facts and does not bear to the true story of what happened. So these options are open to us, and it then also leads to the bigger question of Africa and the global media. We need, as it were, an African media giant that sometimes will take up the alternative view from the African side. If you've seen the international media terrain, it seems that these global media giants have, over the years, put out stories, some of which were quite unfounded, and they get away with it because we do not have an alternative source of information on Africa. So we need, as it were, Africans' own global media that will project the true values of Africa and tell our story.
All right. Grateful to you, sir, for joining us. Yeah, moving on.